Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Michael Yardney podcast. Now, while you're probably here to learn about property investment, finance, or money, today I've got something a little different, but incredibly exciting in store for you today. We also talk a lot about success on this show, personal success, business success. Now, you've probably heard the name Seth Godin. He's a best-selling author, a guy who genuinely understands the mechanics of personal and business success. Well, today, Mark Creedon and I are going to be diving deep into 14 game-changing ideas from Seth Godin. Look, it doesn't matter if you're a seasoned property investor, a thriving entrepreneur, or if you're just starting on your journey. I think the wisdom we're going to unpack today, hey, it's not my wisdom, I'm not being vain, but Seth Godin's wisdom we're going to unpack today has universal applications. You see, they're not just theories, they're actionable insights that you can implement right away. And trust me, you're going to want to take notes today. You know, one of the reasons Seth Godin's ideas resonate so well is that they challenge traditional thinking. They push us to question the status quo and to consider how we can not just be different, but be better. Better investors, better business people, better individuals. So, let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Michael Yardney podcast, where twice each week you will learn a number of new ideas regarding success, property investment, and money in around 30 minutes. Our show is brought to you by Metropole, who specialise in helping you grow, protect, and pass on your wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. Now, here's your host, Michael Yardney, Australia's authority in wealth creation through property, who has been voted one of Australia's top 50 most influential thought leaders.
One of the blogs I read every morning is that from Seth Godin, and that's a name that's synonymous with inspiration, innovation, and challenging conventional wisdom. Actually, it's short and sharp, and I'd recommend you subscribe to it as well. So what I'd like to do today is go through a number of ideas and explore some thoughts that might resonate with you with not just regard to property investment, but with success in your life in general, and who better to discuss these with than Mark Creedon, CEO of Metropole Property Group and the founder of Mastermind Business Accelerator. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Michael. This is going to be fun.
Well, Seth's well-known, well-regarded. He's a thought leader. So let me read out some of the ideas that I got from the morning blogs I've been receiving from him, and I'd love to get your input. So let's go with the first one. How dare you settle for less when the world has made it so easy for you to be remarkable? Now, that's a great inspirational way to start the day.
Yeah, I think it is. I think what he's saying here, Michael, it's about sort of embracing the potential within you. And we just have, especially today, you and I were just talking earlier about, ChatGPT and artificial intelligence. There's endless resources and opportunities to be remarkable. There's no reason why we shouldn't seek greatness rather than settling for mediocrity when greatness is actually within reach. So I think what he's saying is reach out and make your mark, Michael.
Well, I remember Jim Rohn saying something very similar. You've got a choice. Every time you make a decision, you've got a choice either to do it or not, to do it well or not to do it well. If you're going to do something, you may as well do it as best you can. So that's a good way to start this group of inspirational thoughts. Another thought he came up with, it's nothing new really, is soon is not as good as now. I just see so many people procrastinate. At the moment, Mark, in the world of property, people are procrastinating. They're waiting for everything to be right. Have interest rates really peaked? Is inflation going to settle, or is oil prices and the wars overseas going to mess things up more? I'm just going to wait for everything to be right. It keeps them in their comfort zones. I guess you're seeing much the same in the world of business, Mark.
Yeah, we do. People are waiting for the right opportunity to employ the next person or the right opportunity to expand their business. And it just proves, Michael, the concept that procrastination is the enemy of progress, isn't it? I mean, I remember when I was in high school once, I was doing some maths, and the school principal came and stood behind me, and he looked over my shoulder and he pointed to an error. And I said, yes, I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that later. And he picked the eraser up out of my pencil case and put it in front of me and said, don't put off till tomorrow what should be done today. that stuck with me for a very long time.
You had a pencil case. We're aging ourselves now.
Aren't we?
I actually was talking with my kids about how I learned maths at school, and we used a logbook. They didn't know what a logbook was. And a slide rule. What's a slide rule?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's right.
There weren't calculators in those days. And interestingly, a lot of the things I learned I didn't use, haven't used in my adult life. I guess nowadays they're going to teach them how to work in the world of artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. But we actually got off the topic a bit about the concept that really waiting for the perfect moment can leave you in a loop of procrastination. Now, whether it's investing in property, whether it's, as you said, employing somebody, implementing a new business idea, what's the worst that can happen? And I think one of the things I have learned over the years is to think, if I'm worried about something, and I am an action taker, as you know, but if I'm worried about something, I think, what's the worst that could happen? What's the best that could happen? What's the most likely outcome? And that has actually helped me put things into perspective, because the worst that could happen, the thing that worries you, very rarely happens. I mean, if you think about what we worried about 12 months ago, most of those things haven't happened. In the world of property, 12 months ago, the Reserve Bank said interest rates would keep going up, but they also said that property values would drop double-digit growth. Some banks thought property values would drop 20%, 30%. That didn't happen. But if you worried about that, I guess in many ways worrying, you're living in the future. If you're down, you're living in the past. So live in the present and take action, Mark.
Yeah, I think that's great advice, Michael. The big thing is that, the things that we worry about, that the worst possible outcomes rarely actually come to pass.
Yeah. Okay, another thought from Seth Godin was, if failure is not an option, then neither is success. Now, that's a little bit confusing.
I think what he's saying here is that if you're afraid to make mistakes, whether it's in your investment or your business or maybe just in other decisions you make, then you'll never make the big wins. So it's about embracing risk, intelligently, and the successes will come from that. And I think, Michael, the concept too is that the reality is the path to success really is often paved with failures. You and I have both been there. We've embraced them. We've learnt from them, kept going. And we've also known people who thought that they couldn't fail, hadn't failed, and really needed to fail in order to push through to the next level of success.
I think what he was really getting at also is that without the risk of failure, there's no opportunity for growth. So failure is just part of the journey. And as you say, embrace it's easy to say. It's not pleasant when it happens. But if you aren't stretching yourself, you're not going to grow. And there's no successful person I know who hasn't had more than their share of failures.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true.
Okay, Seth Godin also said, if it scares you, it might be a good thing to try. Now, I get that one.
Yeah, stepping out of your comfort zone. As you did recently on your holiday, Michael, you sent a video of you parasailing through the Alps in Switzerland.
Paragliding, yes.
Paragliding?
Yeah.
I looked at that and I thought, it was funny because I actually looked at that and I was speaking to Caroline, and she said to me, "Oh, well, you've got to step out of your comfort zone. You've got to be a bit afraid of things." And the thing about something that's scaring you is it's actually about challenging you. And so the more you challenge yourself, the more likely you're to develop a stronger version of yourself, I think.
Just out of interest, that sail, the parachute, was actually very small. And if I knew all the risks that the pilot told me afterwards about people falling on the takeoff or the landing and breaking their arms and breaking their legs, I may not have done it. But yes, I did step out of my comfort zone. And it's actually much the same with investment. It's much the same with business, that if you stay inside your comfort zone, growth rarely happens. Well, I shouldn't even say rarely. It doesn't happen. Whether that's with investment or just general motivation, give it a go.
Yeah, stepping outside the comfort zone really is where the growth happens, Michael.
Now, another saying from Seth Godin, in a crowded marketplace, fitting in is falling. I guess, again, that's a form of comfort, following the herd. But the herd's usually wrong, aren't they?
Yeah, it reminds me of the Blue Ocean strategy book. The reality is everybody's sort of in this red ocean, this feeding frenzy, and what you should be doing is stepping outside of that. In a busy marketplace, I think not standing out is the same as being invisible.
Now, I know you're a coach to a lot of successful business people and entrepreneurs. This would fit in very much with business, wouldn't it?
Oh, we often say to our clients in business, it's not about doing it better, it's about doing it different. Because everybody out in the marketplace in business is claiming that their service or their product is better. But it's very hard to measure that level of how better things are. But it's very easy to measure the level of how different things are. So for me, don't fit in, step outside of that, out of that sort of that comfort zone and be different instead. That's how you'll get noticed, Michael.
Well, I think it also has to do with getting the right coaches to push you out of your comfort zone a bit. And that's something you've done with me over a decade and with people in Mastermind Business Accelerator. And really, it's much the same with property investment. If you do what everyone else does, you're going to get the same results as everyone else. And they're actually not pretty in property investment. 50% of investors sell up in the first 5 years. Recent CoreLogic data suggests that, in fact, more and more of them are selling up at a loss within 3 years. They made the wrong decisions because they're being given the wrong advice. And those who stay in the market, we know 92% of investors never get past their first or second property. So if you listen to who they listen to, if you do what they do, then it's inevitable you're going to get the same results as them. So fitting in is failing, according to Seth Godin, and I'd agree with that. He also said, we believe what we want to believe, and once we start believing it, it's the truth. That's called confirmation bias, isn't it?
Yeah, it is called confirmation bias. I mean, we know that our beliefs shape our reality. So if you truly believe in something, it becomes your truth. And I think what we've got to do is cultivate our beliefs so that what we believe and therefore what becomes our truth is something that is positive and success-oriented, something that's actually going to propel us forward, Michael.
Now, interestingly, I did an episode a short while ago on the reticular activating system, that system in the brain that's both your GPS and also a guide to where you want to get to, a search engine. But interestingly, our brain has been built, designed, the GPS there, the reticular activating system, to look for things that it already believes is correct and true. Now, you've heard me use the example often that when I taught Harrison how to drive, we were driving down Nepean Highway where all the car yards were, and he said, "Hey, Dad, look at all the Toyotas." And I said, "Where, Harrison? Look at all the Mercedes." In other words, it's what you look for is what you find. But if you believe it to be true, you're going to go down that rabbit hole in your mind, and you're not going to find a new way of doing things. So I enjoy reading other people's blogs, listening to other people's podcasts with contrary views to mine. Now, I sometimes find it hard to listen to them. I sometimes find it hard to read and think, how on earth could they think that? But I still force myself to do it to make sure I'm not missing anything, Mark.
Oh, well, Michael, if you look at it in business, I mean, we've seen, you and I have both seen business owners, business leaders who surround themselves with acolytes, the yes people that don't have a contrary view on things, and therefore they never get pushed and stretched, and invariably that just doesn't work.
Well, I've made that mistake in the past and employed mini-me's, people who thought like I did, wanted to do things like I did. And again, that's like we talked a short while ago about just being part of the herd rather than getting outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly.
Next comment by Seth Godin was, your art is what you do when no one tells you exactly how to do it.
It's about embracing creativity and intuition, I think. I mean, it's because it's your unique touch, right? It's something that nobody else can dictate. You're following your instincts, creating something that's truly yours. It's very easy, Michael, to follow a template.
Everyone does, I guess, don't they? Many do.
Well, to a degree, absolutely. But this is a little bit like before saying, fitting in is following what everybody else is doing, following the crowd. This is the opportunity more to innovate and to apply this to whether it's your business strategy, your investing strategy.
Well, I'm not sure I agree with that. With business, yes. I actually think you should innovate. You should be different. You've got to have your own unique selling proposition. You've got to differentiate yourself from the crowd. With property, you've got to be different to the majority. But again, I'd be following tried, true strategies and frameworks that have been tested over multiple decades, multiple cycles. Do what always worked rather than what's worked just now.
Yeah, Michael, I think that's a great point in property, and it gets back to what we were saying before, that lots of people follow, there's lots of and certainly in the time that you've been in this space, there's lots of new thinkers and there's lots of new people coming into the marketplace. But I guess it's, coming up with new and innovative ways. I think we've got to be very careful about the extent to which you innovate when it comes to property investing.
Well, at the end of the year, I used to have fun game with Rob Belander, our mutual good friend, who used to write an Australian Property Investor magazine, as I did when there was hard copy magazines. And we'd pull out old editions of them and say, where are they now? Now, we can't pull out the old editions of the magazines anymore, but you can actually look at whose podcasts are no longer there, whose blogs are no longer there, people who come up with all these new ideas, how to short-circuit the system, get rich quick. I was flipping McDonald's burgers 5 years ago, and now I've got $10 million worth of properties, or I bought 7 properties in 7 minutes. Enticing stories, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm leaning on a Lamborghini.
Oh, yes.
That's still in the dealership, by the way.
Is that where they sit?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, another comment that Seth Godin made as we go through some of the clever ideas I've gleaned from his daily blogs that I subscribe to. Change almost never fails because it's too early. It almost always fails because it's too late.
I like this because adaptation is I think, key to survival. We've got to be really careful. You want to be sure that you're not waiting for change to be necessary, that you're actually staying ahead of the curve. But again, it's always a matter of being careful not to try and pick the perfect time. I mean, it's the perfect time. When's the perfect time to get into property investment? It was probably yesterday, Michael.
20 years ago.
No, 20 years ago, yeah.
Or this time last year before the cycle picked up. So interestingly, a lot of Seth's comments are much more relevant in my mind to business people rather than property investors, even though property investors should treat their property like a business. And that's why I thought you'd be the right person to talk with about this, because sure, you're the CEO of Metropole, and as I've stepped back, you're running the company, 80-odd people. Well, I was going to say 80-odd people, but they're pretty normal people.
Yeah, no, they're not that odd.
Around 80 people.
They're not that odd, yeah.
Very effectively and efficiently, but you haven't given up your role as coach to some very successful business people and entrepreneurs in Mastermind Business Accelerator. And in fact, you also got your own podcast that I get a lot of pleasure listening to every week. I still learn from you, Mark. Mastermind for Business. Michael. How's the podcast going?
It's going really well. We're very happy. We've actually lengthened the podcast a little bit, but it's designed to be super practical. So the idea is to share something that I've been teaching or something I've learned from clients in the last few weeks, putting it into a podcast. It's designed so people can listen to it, take it away, and apply it in their business straight away.
Well, I know you have occasional guests. You had me, you had your wife Caroline, your business partner, our business partner there as well. But I would recommend anyone who is in business or professional practice or thinking of going into that right now, just put pause on this for just 1 sec, and whichever podcast app you're in, look for Mastermind for Business podcast. And I guess it depends which podcast app you're talking about. It's either subscribe or follow. It's not really subscribe because you don't pay for it, but follow it and get it each week, and you'll get some of Mark's wisdom as well.
But make sure you come back here.
Oh, yeah. Once you've subscribed, come back, definitely. That's right, because we got a whole lot of more points to talk about. And the next one, again, maybe a little bit business related, is the secret of leadership is simple. Do what you believe, paint a picture of the future, go there, people will follow.
Yeah, you and I were talking about this morning, in fact. I mean, a strong leader has a vision and sticks to it. And if you want people to follow you, you've got to show them the way, and you've got to be passionate, and you've got to have conviction, and you've got to be prepared to show the way forward. And I think that anyone who's looking to emulate your success, you need to show them the way. Michael, I think it's something that you do very well. I think that you, in terms of the way that you've run Metropole over the years and the way that you mentor people in property investment, is you've got a very clear vision, you've got a very clear process, you have great passion and conviction about it, and that's why people follow you.
Interesting. Thank you. I think that came out over COVID as well, where they actually needed strong leadership when a lot of us were locked in our homes and not able to do our proper business. Okay, I think there's 4 or 5 more of these I want to go through with Seth Godin. People who are the best in the world specialize in getting really good at questions they don't know. I guess what Seth Godin is saying is, it follows on a bit with before too, getting out of your comfort zone. Embrace the unknown. I know that you're constantly learning and reading. We've spoke about that only recently. Even on your holiday, you came back with a whole lot of good ideas. So whether it's learning, reading, watching videos, don't be afraid to tackle questions that you don't know the answers to. I'm still learning every day.
Yeah, I think there'll always be learning. The questions you don't have the answers to are often the ones worth exploring the most. And you and I are very similar in that over holidays, we take some time off and we enjoy our time and we enjoy the scenery. But I think it's a great opportunity to disconnect from what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and learn. Michael, even if that's just taking time to think, I think there's great value in it.
Well, I've just recently been putting together a very long, detailed article about the success traits of the successful property investors and looking at what our clients who've been in that group to get in the top 1% of investors owning 6 or more properties, what they have in common. And one of the things they do have in common is having a strategy that's time-tested and proven, having a team around them, not trying to do it on their own, but also not thinking they know it all and learning and improving and having mentors and being prepared to keep growing. They come to Wealth Retreat. They pay for advice from our team and from Ken. And actually, I've noticed similarly with successful business people, they're prepared. Well, I learned that a long time ago. It's been one of my secrets of success. And I've learned that having a good mentor and having a good tribe around you is very important as well. That's why you can actually get good at understanding answers to questions you don't know.
Yeah, it's very, very true. I like the idea of having a tribe. That's something that we do in our Mastermind Business Accelerator program is that we do have a tribe. And I always say people come for the content and stay for the community. There's great value in surrounding yourself with people who know more than you do or know different to what you do.
Yes. Now, that's actually a really good time for a shameless plug. Tell us about Mastermind Business Accelerator.
Michael, Mastermind Business Accelerator, as you know, is a business program that...
I know the answer, of course, because I'm your business partner, but there will be people listening to this who think, what's he on about?
Well, you're more than my business partner. Apart from being a good friend, you're also somebody who contributes a lot to the program. So Mastermind Business Accelerator is a coaching program. And I think what makes it a little bit unique is that it involves one-on-one coaching. You get the opportunity to spend time with me one-on-one. You work with some of our experts. You work with Caroline and with you, Michael, and some of the other experts, guest experts that we have coming in on leadership and mindset. But it's also a group program. So we have one-on-one sessions, but then we also have group sessions every week. 3 times a year we get together on the Gold Coast. We spend a couple of days.
Looking forward to that. That's coming up really shortly. And it's interesting how people get so much benefit from, you can learn so much from blogs, so much from podcasts, so much from Zoom sessions, but there's exponential benefit in being in a room with other successful, like-minded people. That's important.
That's the big thing, and I think that's a big thing that we look at. We're quite selective about who we work with in Mastermind, and that's so that you can surround yourself with like-minded people. But you're right, we just see this exponential growth when people have the opportunity to spend 2 days together in the room with other like-minded people. And everybody in Mastermind, Michael, is so giving, aren't they? They're very generous in their support and sharing.
That's another interesting trait of successful people. Now, they're careful who they give it to because you'll always find people knock on your door wanting your help or your advice. But here, because it's a tribe, as you say, a group of people who become friends, it's very valuable. So if people want the same business coach, not only me, but all the directors of Metropole have and a lot of other very successful business people, and this varies from a multi-franchise large car dealer to single shop owners, somebody who owns a pool shop or professional service providers as well, why not go to Metropole Mastermind, and I'll leave a link in the show notes, and have a chat with Caroline, explain to her what you're looking for, what your challenges are, what your blockages are. You may not even know, and see if it would be a fit to be part of Mastermind Business Accelerator.
Be wonderful, Michael. We're very happy to chat with anybody listening to the podcast and see what we can do to help them.
Okay, the last 4 quotes, thought processes, ideas from Seth Godin. Let's go through those, Mark. You have everything you need to build something far bigger than yourself. I guess he's asking you to push to recognize your potential.
Yeah, determination, the right mindset, create something extraordinary. But it is about believing in yourself. I mean, it's not just about the skills or knowledge, Michael. It's ambition, it's self-belief, it's mindset. We spend so much time talking about mindset and about removing limiting beliefs. I mean, one of the great things I love that you do at Wealth Retreat, without sort of giving too much away, is working on people's limiting beliefs and sort of negative mindset. And we see enormous breakthroughs in that, don't we?
Well, even the most successful people there, including you and me, have our own limiting beliefs, and it's good to get them out. I think another comment along these lines is it's also important to be positive. Optimists tend to be much more successful. In fact, I don't know any successful pessimists. So, yes, you've got to have confidence in yourself, but also confidence that the world is a good place and there's still great opportunities around and you can grow yourself into a bigger person. Now, another thought from Seth that makes sense to me is he said, quitting is not the same as failing.
No, right, because sometimes knowing when to quit is actually a sign of wisdom, isn't it?
That's right, yes, of course.
It doesn't mean failure. It just means redirecting your energy, where it's more productive. I mean, you keep hitting your head against a brick wall and all you're going to do is come up with a bloody forehead.
So you've got to know when to stop.
Yep. Michael, knowing when to stop, and I think quitting isn't just about quitting and coming to a stop. Sometimes it's about changing direction.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's a part of growth.
Yeah. Again, one of the reasons it takes many property investors 20, 30 years to get a level of financial independence is because they make a lot of mistakes in the first 5 or 10 years. They've got to learn what works for them because there's so many options there and it's so easy to get swayed by the clever marketing for off-the-plan house and land packages, cash flow, positive properties, and it doesn't work for many people. Then all of a sudden they got to decide, do I actually sell up? What if I do? I spend so much time, energy, emotion. I think that's one of the reasons people don't quit, Mark, because they've spent so much effort, energy, emotion. It's a little bit of ego as well. Oop, I got it wrong.
Yeah, so they just keep putting their money on red, Michael.
Yeah, because eventually it'll come up. Hey?
Yeah. And black just keeps coming up time and time again, but they just
keep
keep
going
back.
Too? A long time since I've played roulette, but that's really the only way I've ever done it. But usually I run out of money before it gets right.
Yeah, me too.
I keep doubling down.
All right, I run out of money or patience.
Well,
one of the two.
Basically, I used to when I went, I'd maybe have a budget of $50 or $25, nothing big at all, just for a bit of fun. And I'd put $2 or $5 on red, and then 10, and then 20, and sometimes it came in.
Let's just say I've never broken the casino, that's for sure.
No. Now, my mother used to bet on her kids' birthdays, and I guess the 36 to 1 would give you a better opportunity, or 30 to 1, whatever it was. She never did anything either.
Yeah.
Okay, so two more thoughts from Seth Godin. The cost of being wrong is less than the cost of doing nothing. Again, it's along the same theme, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's about taking action.
Even if it leads to mistakes.
Yeah, it's still better than inaction, isn't it? I mean, you'll learn from being wrong and adjusting course than from simply standing still. And Michael, this is something that I say.
That's a really good point. You don't learn anything watching as an observer you're either on the field playing or not.
Yeah, or on the sideline. It's easy to be a sideline expert. This is something we say to the team all the time. Come to me with a solution. It may not be the right one, but that's okay. I'd rather you come to me with a solution than come to me with nothing at all.
So mistakes become lessons, as we've said. Doing nothing teaches you nothing. Okay, the last thought from Seth Godin was the secret to being wrong isn't to avoid being wrong. I guess it's along the same theme.
Yeah, it is. I think it's about being willing to be wrong.
Yeah.
If you never try anything new for fear of being wrong, then you'll never innovate. You'll never grow. You've actually got to be prepared to, do you know what, I'm going to put this out and maybe it's wrong, but I'm going to take that risk and I'm going to be prepared to make the mistake. Now, obviously, if we're talking about property investing, the better way, and in business, by the way, the better way, of course, is not so much to be willing to be wrong, but to go out and learn from other people's mistakes and to partner with people who have already been down that road, seen those mistakes and know how to move around them. But again, you've still got to put yourself out there in order to put yourself into that position in the first place.
Yes, you do. I guess that's, again, the benefit of having a mentor and being part of a mastermind. Well, Mark, that was a fun chat. I always enjoy our chats because these ideas are just as relevant to the business world as they are to personal development. And I hope each one of these offered our listener a nugget of wisdom. They challenge us to think differently, to be daring, to continuously strive for excellence. So if you've enjoyed this, let them inspire you in your continued journey to success and personal growth. These ideas from Seth Godin are personal reminders to be brave, to be proactive and authentic in our pursuits. And they resonate with me and you, Mark, and I hope with anyone else who's seeking growth, success and a life less ordinary. Thanks for your time again, Mark.
It's always a pleasure, Michael.
Now here's Michael's mindset message. Remember, a change in your thinking will lead to a change in your life.
Today, I'd like to share with you Warren Buffett's 3-step strategy for success. Well, I guess there's more than 3 things he did to become very, very successful. But I read a story a while ago that I'd like to share with you because it was fascinating for me. I read that one day Warren Buffett was sitting in the cockpit of his plane with his pilot, Mike Flint, and they were having a conversation, and Flint asked Warren Buffett, "What does it take to succeed?" So Warren Buffett shared with him the following 3 steps for success. Maybe they'll help you as well. Step 1 was write down your top 25 goals. Step 2, Buffett said, was circle your top 5 goals. Then step 3 of his 3-step process for success, Buffett said, transfer your top 5 goals onto a separate piece of paper, and he asked Flint, his pilot, to transfer his 20 secondary goals onto another separate sheet of paper. Buffett then told him that those 20 secondary goals, avoid them at all costs. That's right. Look at those other things and just avoid them. The purpose of this exercise was to help his pilot decide on the goals he wanted to focus on and ignore all the others. The key to success is to focus on what's most important to you, said Buffett. So now, this 3-step strategy of success not only helps you define the things that are going to have the most impact on your life, but it also helps you define those things that you should ignore at all costs. I know at Wealth Retreat we get people to make a list of things they want to keep doing, make a list of things they want to start doing when they learn all the new things that they learn from the faculty, but also make a list of things they want to stop doing. So Buffett's 3-step strategy was to define your top goals, and those 20 secondary goals represent distractions, things are not going to be good use of your time and that will distract you from pursuing your most important goals. So there you have it. Wise words from one of the best investors in history, one of the wealthiest people at the moment. I guess you can't get information from anybody better than that, can you? Well, thanks for spending the last little while with me, and I hope you got some benefit from this show. If you did, and you know somebody else who'd also benefit, please tell them about the Michael Yardney podcast. There's a share button on every podcast app. On Apple Podcasts, there's 3 little buttons down the bottom. Press it and share it, or just tell them about the Michael Yardney podcast. I hope you're going to be doing them a favour, and you'll definitely be doing me a favour and helping me in my quest to make as many people as possible financially literate. Now, there's ways of catching up with me between these shows. Just look for Michael Yardney on social media, or why not join my private Facebook group? Go to Facebook and look for the Property Update Facebook group. And I have a way of saying thank you to you for subscribing to this podcast. Go to podcastbonus.com.au. There'll be a link in the show notes, podcastbonus.com.au, where you can get a bunch of ebooks and reports. My way of saying thank you. And when you've got time, why not listen to some of the old podcasts? There's individual lessons in each of those that I think would be helpful for you. I'll be back again real soon. In the meantime, have a great week. Make it a great week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Michael Yardney podcast, which was brought to you by Metropole, who help their clients grow, protect, and pass on their wealth through strategic property and wealth advice. If you like what you heard and don't already subscribe, you'll find us on iTunes or on your favourite Android app as the Michael Yardney Podcast. Watch out for our next show, which comes to you twice a week, and you'll learn some new ideas about property investment, success and money in around 30 minutes. To get more of Michael's thoughts, go across to www.propertyupdate.com.au and sign up for his daily morning briefing, and you'll hear from not only Michael but a group of leading property success and money experts. And just a reminder that the information you heard in this show today is general educational advice and not specific investment advice, as we don't know your personal circumstances. If you're looking for specific advice, why not ask the team at Metropole to help you?